You can become a much better programmer if you know how to do this one thing, and that is to stay focused. Hey, my name is Khan and I'm currently a software engineer at a startup, and I've worked for companies like Sony and Google, and without a shadow of doubt, my ability to focus on coding tasks have helped me not just land jobs in big tech, but also thrive as a knowledge worker. In this video, I want to break down 8 different tips and techniques for avoiding distractions as a programmer. Now, this is something that I've repeatedly wrestled with in some shape or form. There have been long stretches where I haven't been as productive as I could be simply because I was easily distracted. And for each bump in the road that I've hit, I've been able to walk away with a valuable learning lesson for keeping me effective. So here's the list of 8 tips and techniques. Let's dive in. Technique number 1, get clarity on why you're opting for a distraction. The reason why we get distracted is because we make ourselves distractible. And the reason why we do this is because we'd rather be distracted than facing the uncomfortable work in front of us. You see, discomfort is at the root of distraction. Distractions are an escape from a negative emotion that we are trying to cope with. So you want to first name the emotion that you're dealing with. Here are some examples that I've personally struggled with. Boredom, when the work isn't challenging enough or complex enough. Overwhelm, this can happen when a task is too complex and I have too much on my plate. Uncertainty, when the work I'm doing might not work, as in when a solution hasn't been proven yet to work, or I'm working on pitching something to a decision maker. Anxiety from feeling like I'm not contributing enough. This can happen when the work I'm doing doesn't measure up to the quality of work that my peers are doing. Now, whatever your reasons for being distracted are, look no further than the uncomfortable emotions that are swirling around inside of you. Those are typically the root cause, and once you name the cause, you can actually begin to address the problem. Technique number 2 is to break up large tasks into a list of smaller tasks. This is probably one of my favorite parts of being a programmer. And every programmer that I've met in my career has done some version of this, whether it's in their head, a paper and pen, or in the task management software that they're using. We intuitively like to get things done or check things off a list. So naming the small tasks that make up a larger solution is a really effective tactic to keep you focused and going from one thing to the next. It's like little treats for our brain that also anchor us along checkpoints that move us closer to the final solution. This technique also doubles as a mechanism for preventing overwhelm. Anxiety and overwhelm go hand in hand where a task is too large to comprehend at once. That's why breaking it up into meaningful chunks is so important. And the less overwhelm and anxiety we feel, the less distracted we'll be. Technique number 3 is to turn off distractions when you're coding. This is probably the most obvious thing to solve, yet so few of us actually do it. Our phones have a do not disturb mode or a work mode that only allows notifications from certain contacts. You want to use this. Airplane mode or outright turning it off is obviously effective too. I also like to take it a step further and block distracting websites. I don't know about you, but I can't get my work done without blocking YouTube. If left unchecked, I'll end up watching entertaining and informative videos on YouTube over coding. So I wrote a little script that does this for me called Distraction Free. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Technique number 4 is to create a longer stretch of time to get work done. I like at least 75 minutes for getting a real substantial amount of coding done. Usually, I make the most aggressive amounts of progress when I'm plugging away for 2 to 3 hours non-stop. I know I'm in a flow state when I'm focused for that long, and it's one of my favorite feelings. The reason why longer stretches is so important is because it takes 10 to 20 minutes just to load up the appropriate context into our brain and get back into the flow of programming. And there's just no good way to focus for long stretches if you've got things scheduled in your day that's gonna break up your focus. Try consolidating meetings back to back. Try not to put things right in the middle of an open block of time. Start treating your large blocks of open time as sacred hours. These uninterrupted blocks of time are the bedrock of your effectiveness as a programmer. Technique number 5 is to avoid breaks, except when you're stuck. Now, I don't mean to go all day without a break, but in the same vein as the last technique, bathroom breaks and snack breaks can absolutely derail your focus if you let it. While there's nothing you can do if nature begins calling, you can avoid it from happening by proactively going to the bathroom before you sit down to code. I also do this with eating snacks before sitting down to code. This is especially prevalent when I worked in an office and I had to walk across the office to the bathroom or walk into a kitchen where I might exchange words with a colleague. That was especially distracting. The exception to this is if you're stuck on a problem and you need to solve it in order to be productive. In those cases, it actually makes more sense to take a break and try to come back to the problem in a fresh state. Just make sure that the break is intentional. You don't want to take a break every time you face discomfort in the name of trying to solve a problem. when you're really just avoiding facing the problem. Technique number 6 is to use body doubling. This is a technique where you work alongside someone else, even if you're working on things completely independent of each other. One person might be studying and the other person might be drawing. It doesn't really matter what each person does, just that they check in with each other so it's known what is being worked on. It's incredibly effective at keeping us focused because it introduces accountability. FocusMate is a web application for this if you want virtual body doubling. I've used FocusMate on numerous occasions and it works really well every single time to keep me on track. A public space like a cafe or a library also works if you don't necessarily need to body double, but need some form of public accountability. Technique number 7 is improve exercise and sleep. It should be of no surprise, but exercise and sleep are the foundation for our bodies, including our brain. And if you're having trouble with sleep, the easiest and universal advice I see on this topic is to just get more or harder exercise in, and preferably in sunlight. It's a pretty simple formula, but if you tire yourself out enough, your body will begin to crave rest. I'm definitely not perfect in this realm as I struggle with sleeping from time to time. But another important thing that I've learned about sleep is that the anxiety from feeling like you're not getting enough sleep can wreak havoc on your sleep. Oh, the irony. So in a nutshell, get more exercise and don't stress about sleep. Technique number 8 is prevent physical discomfort. As programmers, we sit at a desk all day, so it might be hard to imagine that there is physical discomfort associated with our jobs. But repetitive strain injuries are a more modern phenomenon caused by repetitive work where a certain muscle group gets repeated exposure to the same movement. Typing and sitting at a computer doing the same thing all day can fall under this criteria. And every time we feel discomfort, it primes our brain for craving distractions. You can prevent physical discomfort at your desk by investing in the following things, like a comfortable chair, a sit-stand desk to allow you to switch working positions, the right size monitor with the right resolution, so you can have comfortable reading text on screen and you don't have to move your head back and forth, the monitor at a right height. Invest in one that allows adjusting the height of the monitor, or a monitor that supports a VESA mount, so you can attach it to a monitor arm. You want the top half of the monitor to be around eye level, so your neck is in a comfortable resting position and your head is not either looking up or down. An ergonomic keyboard and mouse that prevents your wrists from entering a stressed angle. This is going to be different for each person, but I've personally invested in a custom split keyboard, which looks like this, and a Logitech MX Anywhere 3 mouse. So these devices help me achieve a wrist angle so that my wrists are straight when I'm like clicking or when I'm typing. So I get this incredibly natural movement in my wrists when I'm typing or using the mouse, as opposed to having this like strained angle constantly where I have tension in my forearms and it causes a repetitive strain injury. Okay, so that's it. Those are the 8 tips and techniques for avoiding distractions as a programmer. If you found this video helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel. I also have a coding newsletter where I share insights on becoming an effective software engineer and high-performing individual. Check it out if you're interested. I'll leave a link to it in the video description. Okay, see you in the next video. Bye-bye.